Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Grief Let's Talk About It podcast. You guys already know who it is. This is Tony Lynch. I am your host, and of course, we are bringing another amazing conversation with you guys. And you guys, if it's your first time tuning in, do me a favor, head on over to the YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification so you'll be notified every time that we drop a new episode. But most importantly, if you have any questions or comments, please put them in the comment section. Now, before I bring on my next guest, I would like to say that this is for educational purposes only. And for everyone who is tuning in, thank you guys for tuning in. Now, help me welcome my guest to the show. Again, everyone who is tuning in, thank you guys for tuning in. Now, help me welcome my guest to the show. Again, everyone who is tuning in, thank you guys for tuning in.
Yep, I'm here.
All right, I can see you. I can see you on the other screen. I just can't see you on mine. Do me a favor. Put your phone on mute. I can see you on the other screen. I just can't see you on mine. Do me a favor. Put your phone on mute.
Put my phone what?
Put your phone on mute because there's a lot of reverb in the background. Like I can hear it.
Put my phone what?
Yeah, I can hear me talking on another device.
Okay. It's off.
Yeah, I can hear me talking on another device.
Let me see if I can put.
Do you have anything else playing?
No. My phone's not even on.
Do you have anything else playing?
No.
Okay, not a problem. Not a problem.
Let me see if this will work. No.
Okay, not a problem.
All right. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you.
And there's no static?
Nope, there's no static. There's nothing.
We have figured it out, Tony.
Yay!
111. It's 111. All right. It's a magic number. We're here. That's all good.
There we go. There we go. I'm here for it. I am definitely here for it. So now, before we get started, tell people who you are, where you're from, and about the work that you do.
All right. My name is Kim Hodous. I am from Hot Springs, Arkansas. And for over 15 years, I've been the happiness speaker, a motivational speaker. I go into corporations, associations, small businesses, school districts, hospital associations, and talk to them about happiness. And then almost 3 years ago, my 29-year-old son died of a fentanyl overdose. And of course, you know, I had to stop speaking and really go in and deal with my grief. And I'm back to speaking now, but about a month after my son transitioned, he came through to me on the other side. And over the course of about a year and a half, he's given me a book, which is going to be published this spring. And then he also gave me a system to help other moms like myself that have lost a child connect with their child in the same way we have, because we have connected on such a deep level. It's not just sending me signs, it's having conversations, getting the answers to all my questions. So now I'm also doing that work through my business called Messages for Moms.
Okay. I love that. And thank you for the work that you do. And I want to kind of dive into your story a little bit, right? Give us a background of who you were before you became a speaker, and how did you get into speaking, becoming the happiness speaker?
Okay. So my journey with grief started over 30 years ago when my 2-year-old daughter died of leukemia. So I had 5 kids under the age of 5. Rob, my son that died, ended up being the one to donate bone marrow. She had a bone marrow transplant. And after she died, I mean, my friends always used to call me Mary Poppins. I've always been very positive and upbeat. And after she died, I couldn't shake it. I was just in such a state of despair and anguish and sadness. And so I really started to research happiness. Like, how do I become happy again? How do we become happy after a devastating loss? And it actually ended up, I was a school teacher at the time that Chelsea died, and I took some time off, and I never went back to teaching. And what happened was I started offering to speak for free at Kiwanis clubs and Rotary clubs and women's groups. And it just kept growing. And I always kind of laugh and say, I feel like I lead a charmed life, even though I have lost 2 of my children. I think those things can coexist. We can have joys and heartbreak at the same time. And my first paid speaking engagement was for Walmart. And so it just grew from there. And then I started being asked to speak more and more and more. And I've written a couple books, and, happiness really became my theme. And I'm fortunate in that about the same time I was doing this, Martin Seligman started his body of work called positive psychology. Well, positive psychology has been around for a while, but he really started doing the research to figure out how can we validate that happiness is good for people at work, that there's an ROI. And so they did all kinds of really awesome experiments that really can prove, and gave me kind of the data I needed to go into corporations and companies and associations and say, hey, happiness is going to be better for your business's bottom line. So that's how I started speaking on happiness. It really all kind of grew from my daughter's death, because I was just so unhappy. I had to figure out, how do I get myself back?
And that was going to be my next question, because, listening to that and coming from a place like you've lost two of your children. Mm-hmm. And my heart is with you, because that is the hard thing that is by far for me as a bereaved father has been the hardest thing to come to a place of acknowledgement, right? Not to a place of acceptance, but a place of acknowledgement of the world that I live in, how it has changed, how it has changed me, and acknowledging, just the work that I do based around all of those different things, right? Mm. Acknowledging how my personality changed, how the things that have been stripped away from me, the things that I've gained, etc. Mm-hmm. And so now I want to dive a little bit into the grieving process, because I think that is a true sign of strength, to be able to find happiness in such deep embedded pain. Mm-hmm. Right? So how did you grieve that and to come and to find that happiness, to find a silver lining? Because I know we talked about this before, and you and I both agree that, hey, the energy is still here. You can have that connection if you want, mm-hmm. but it's the process getting there, right? You have to actually want it.
Yep. Amen. Yeah. So the year after Rob died, what I call just went into the belly of the whale. I don't know how it's about. I just went down under. I did a lot of deep internal work. You are a grief recovery method coach, correct?
Yes.
Yes. Grief recovery method. Anybody listening, work with Tony. Grief recovery is an amazing body of work. It really helped. Then I connected with Rob. And that is the thing that has brought me more peace than anything. Because I'm not psychic. I'm not a medium. I'm not a channel. I don't have the gift. I haven't known since I was 5 years old that I could talk to spirits on the other side. I don't have a, Aunt Millie who used to read tea leaves. There's none of that in my family history. I think that part of it was just I desperately missed Rob so bad. We were very close when he was earthside in a body, and I wanted it. I believed it could happen, and so we created this beautiful connection. And I spent a good part of a year connecting with him almost every day. I mean, it was. Everything in my life kind of got put on hold, and I made that my priority. And I want to share, as I was thinking about what I could share with people today that would be really beneficial and valuable for them. In my happiness keynotes, I share 5 habits, 5 strategies that you can use to become happier. And I realized those same 5 strategies are also 5 strategies that can help you connect with somebody on the other side. So at some point, I'd love to share that because Rob has given me such a clear message and indication. And I'm so excited for the book to come out so people can really read his wisdom from that side. But he says over and over again, when, people will think, oh, I feel so-and-so's presence, but they don't think they're really there. He's like, we are there. We are trying to get your attention. We want to talk to you. It is us, pay attention. If you think it's us, it's us. So.
And we'll definitely get into that because I would love to have you share some of your techniques with us, especially with the audience to help them get there. And I want to ask a question, and let me know if this is okay. Mm-hmm. We talk about the fentanyl epidemic right now, mm-hmm. right? And fentanyl has taken a lot of our children's lives, mm-hmm. and things like that. What is something that we as a society can do to help begin to curb this epidemic that we have with this fentanyl? Because it's getting out of control, Kim. It's really getting out of control.
It's been out of control for years. We are losing more young men ages 19 to 44, twice as many men per year to fentanyl than we lost in the entire Vietnam War. Not 1 year of the war, the entire Vietnam War. It is an epidemic. It is a crisis, and it is very frustrating because, COVID comes along and our government jumps in and you got to wear masks and 6 feet apart, and they mandate businesses close and all this stuff. All these kids are dying, but because it's drugs, it's their fault. I mean, one thing we need to do, I think, is talk about substance use disorder. I have been a longtime Al-Anon person, dealing with the addiction issues in my family. And when they first talked about it as a disease, I was like, isn't it just self-control? Isn't it willpower? I now get 100%. It is a disease. It is no different than if your child had cancer. They need treatment. They need help. And we need to stop putting the stigma on it that, oh, these are just, out of control kids who are partying. My son no more wanted to be an addict. He went through treatment. He fought it with every cell of his body. He was ashamed of it. I mean, he was a college educated, good looking, successful guy. He was an athlete. He had his own tennis academy, taught tennis lessons to kids from ages 6 to 76. He had a pest control business. I mean, he was a smart, stellar human being. And so many of these kids that are turning to fentanyl, that are dying, they are smart and they are sensitive. They feel things deeply. And we need to quit looking at them as somehow flawed and needing to be fixed. They just need treatment. They need the right help.
Right.
I think the other thing we have to do is talk about it. Rob had a good friend that died of fentanyl, and at his funeral, it was never mentioned. I was the first, of course, I'm a professional speaker, so I was the first one to talk at Rob's funeral. And I said, I want to address the way Rob died right out of the gate. It doesn't matter to me if my son died of fentanyl or died in a car accident or died of a terminal illness. My son is gone. And I am not ashamed of the way he died. I'm not embarrassed of the way he died. He had a substance use disorder, and he fought it. He fought a good fight. He fought it with everything he had. He wasn't some, no good, not doing anything, just going from one high to the next druggie. And I think so many of these kids aren't. They're hurting, and they need help with substance use, with mental health issues. Mm-hmm. And we're not approaching them as just somebody that needs treatment. Our society treats them as somebody that needs to be punished.
Mm. You know, is I'm glad that you said that, right? Because that's one thing that I've been looking at because throughout the course of time, there's been numerous occasions where people have overdosed or something tragic happened from a doctor prescribed medication.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like how I mean, we know how people are getting a hold of it, right? And we know that there's people that manufacture it that makes it very dangerous. But how are the hospitals, the pharmacies getting away with manufacturing it and then putting it out there on the streets and then getting mad, upset when the obvious happens?
Mm-hmm.
How are they getting away with this, right? Aren't they supposed to be regulating this somehow, right? And it's supposed to be a medication. So how did something that dangerous enter into our medical system?
Yep. Well, I'll tell you one thing that's very cool. The state of Arkansas is the only state in the union that got there's 75 counties in the state of Arkansas. All 75 counties came together and filed a class action lawsuit against the pharmaceutical companies, against the pharmacies, against the doctors, and they won. And in the state of Arkansas, we have, and don't quote me on this because I don't know the exact numbers, but I think it is like $100 million that they are paying over the next 10 years because we won in court. And I don't know why every single state doesn't do this. It's like states have a certain county might try or a certain organization might try. In Arkansas, all 75 counties came together and filed that class action lawsuit. And it's remarkable. And I think more legal action needs to be taken to hold these people responsible.
Yeah. And I totally agree because that is totally ridiculous, right? Um, I mean the numbers are just going up and up and up, right?
Yep. Every year.
We thought that during COVID that we were actually going to be able to address a lot of these things, which now we are. I guess they kind of worked out in a way to where now we can be able to address them. But I think with a lot of us that seen it coming, we try to give them a warning, like, hey, we have a problem.
Mm-hmm.
No one wanted to listen to us. So kudos to the state of Arkansas for actually bringing and holding these individuals accountable, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I know that's one of the hardest things to do is to hold the medical industry accountable for anything, and because they always have safety nets.
Yep.
They come up with this medication and then they know that there's a possibility, that these really traumatic things can happen. And so they set aside all of these billions of dollars just for situations just like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Something needs to be done. They need to do better. They need to do better. And so, and listening to you and everything, I'm just going back like, wow, I find it inspiring because you've lost two of your children and you found strength and happiness. You found a way back in, although you did take a break and everything, you came back and you was like, hey, you know what? Let me show you what it's like to be happy and find a silver lining, even throughout all of these traumatic things, right? Yep. So share with us some of your techniques.
Okay. Well, to back up a little bit, so Rob, when he started coming through to me, we had been connecting for almost a year. I mean, at that point, I had almost everything together for the book that's coming out. He had shared volumes, hundreds of pages of information with me. And then he came to me and he said, Mom, I'm meeting all these souls over here, connecting with all these souls, and they want to connect with their moms in the same way we have. He was connecting with a lot of other souls, Tony, if you and I are talking, very likely your son, it's like, and he said, they're watching how you and I connect and they want to be able to talk to their moms that way. And I was like, Rob, buddy. I'm like, you've already flipped my world upside down. Your death flipped my world upside down. Then you coming through to me and talking to me flipped my world upside down. I'm like, I don't need any more flipping upside down. I go in to large companies and corporations. I am hired to inspire their people at their annual events. And you want me to be the one to raise my hand and go, oh, yeah, and I can help you talk to your dead kid. I'm like, not for me, Rob. And Rob was so persistent in life. He is exactly the same on the other side. And he just kept after me. And the day that I finally decided, okay, I have to do this, because I knew he wasn't going to let me out of it anyways. And he kept telling me, you agreed to this. You've just forgotten that you agreed. But he said, Mom, we're going to start with moms, because, anybody can connect with anybody. But he said moms and their children are going to be the easiest. Mothers carry their children's DNA inside of them once they have birthed them. Mm-hmm. And he said, the moms usually have the closest connection with the child. And so we're going to start with moms. And he said, Mom, we've all heard on the other side of the veil. They've crossed the veil. And he said, these kids are trying to talk to their mom and they're banging on the veil. But he said, think about how much noise it makes to bang on a veil. Nothing. So their moms can't hear them. So he said, I'm going to find the souls over here. You're going to connect with the moms over there, and we're going to bring them together. So he's given me a beautiful system that I teach. My next class is starting February 4th. But I can share, not to the depth that obviously I do, I teach in the class, but what's really cool is the 5 strategies that I have taught for 15 years to probably at least 500,000 people in my keynotes. I give them 5 things that they can do, and those 5 things will also help you connect with somebody on the other side. So I'll run through those if that's okay.
Yeah, please.
Okay, all right. So the first one is that you have to fully engage in your life. You have to be present. You have to show up. And that's also the first thing that you're going to do when you want to connect with your child. You have to get present. You have to be right here, right now. If we are, I remember reading something, and I don't remember exactly what it said, but it's like, if you're depressed, you're focusing on the past, and if you're anxious, you're focusing on the future. Right now is the only moment we have, and your child or your loved one on the other side will meet you where you are. But the first thing you have to do is show up. You've got to be there. You've got to engage. You've got to be in it. The second strategy I teach is that you need to be positive. When it comes to happiness, obviously, something positive is a much higher vibration than something negative. And the main thing that I find with moms who start out, again, they're like me. They're not psychic. They're not mediums. They're like, how am I going to do this? But if you say, oh, I can't connect, I'll never get to connect, I'm not going to connect, this can't happen, it won't happen for me, it's never going to happen. I mean, you've got to have the mindset that, yes, this can happen for me. Yes, I want this. Yes, I deserve this. Yes, my loved one on the other side wants this. You've got to come from the mindset, from a positive mindset that, yes, this can happen. This is for me. This is for, and, one of the things we do in the course is we learn to set really powerful intentions. There are 4 aspects to an intention, and the intention always has to be that the connection brings about positivity, that the connection brings about healing and hope. It's not about, oh, I want to connect with my loved one on the other side so they can tell me the lottery numbers. It's not that would be negative, and that's not the intention. So it's keeping it really positive and looking for the good. When I'm teaching about happiness, it's more about, we're looking for the good in every situation. But when it comes to connecting with someone on the other side, it's about setting that positive mindset. The third thing is to focus on what matters. And when I teach happiness, I teach about goal setting. It's really interesting. The research on goal setting and grieving is really interesting because, you've grieved. So anybody watching this has probably been in grief, and we know grief brain. Grief brain is real. You just feel like you can't even think.
Yes.
And the research has validated that if you are going through a difficult time, that setting goals is actually beneficial to you, which I just found fascinating because, lots of times people are like, oh, I can't even think. Well, you know what? I think that's part of the beauty of goal setting is that it gives you something to focus on. And the thing I would say about connecting with someone on the other side is that you have to really focus on it. You have to make it a priority. I had a mama take the class, and it's around the 4th week that we've done all the preliminary work so that they're really connecting in the way I've connected with Rob, having real conversations and really getting the answers to your questions. And this mama hadn't done any, she hadn't done any of the work. She had not done anything. And I reached out to her and I said, because I have a portal where they log all their work. And I said, it doesn't look like you've even logged in. You haven't done anything. And she goes, yeah, I'm going to stay home this weekend and I'm going to get caught up. Doesn't work that way.
Right.
It is a series of steps. The reason that I have the relationship I do with Rob is because I have spent hours connecting with him. It's almost like any relationship. You've got to put in the time. You've got to focus on it. You've got to make it a priority. And so if you really do want to connect with somebody, you've got to set that time aside. You've got to make that a priority. You can't try one day to get up and go, okay, are you here? Come talk to me. And you don't feel anything and you give up. That's not going to get you where you want to go. And on my website, www.messagesformoms.com, on my homepage, there's a place where you can go and get a PDF. It's 3 things your child on the other side wants you to know. But really, it applies to anybody on the other side. I work primarily with moms, so it's targeted towards, someone who's lost a child. But it's universal information. And when you sign up for that, you go on my email list, and I have a series of introductory emails. And in it, I give a bunch of journal prompts that are so powerful. And if somebody really wants to start connecting with their loved one on the other side, go get that PDF, get on my list. And in the first 5 days, you'll get 5 emails that will give you a really proven way. It's what I use in my class for you to begin to connect with your loved one on the other side. So that's that 3rd strategy. You got to focus. You've got to make time for it, and you've got to make it a priority, and you've got to do it. You got to show up and do it. You can't just wish it would happen.
Right.
The 4th one is gratitude. When it comes to happiness, one of the factors that make up our happiness, so 10% of our happiness is based on our circumstances. 40% is what they call intentional thoughts, habits, and actions. And 50% is your genetic set point. And when this body of work was started, they thought that your genetic set point couldn't be changed. Some people just tend to kind of be negative, and some people just tend to be positive. I tend to be positive, but I've got people in my life that tend to be negative. And that is what they call your genetic set point. And originally, they thought you couldn't change your genetic set point. If your genetic set point was low, you were stuck with it. The one thing they found that will change your genetic set point is gratitude. And so the gratitude is huge when it comes to your happiness. I have seen it totally turn people's lives around. When it comes to connecting with your loved one on the other side, it's the same thing. It's coming forth with that spirit of gratitude, being positive, expecting it will happen. And then anytime you see or feel anything, just thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for meeting me. Thank you for showing. I mean, so many of the mamas I work with come in having gotten signs. For me, I don't know, I've got one right here. Rob loves to send me heart rocks. This is one of his signs to me. I keep them right here, some of them on my desk. Interestingly, Chelsea, my daughter, sent me white stones. I purchased this picture a few years after she passed because she always used to send me white stones. So that's got some great, an image of white stones. But anytime you feel any connection, any hit, just gratitude. Thank you. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for being here. Thank you for letting me know you're around, because that's really going to resonate with them on the other side. And then, of course, the one that I teach in my happiness keynote is connection, because our connections are so important to our happiness. It is really hard to be a lone wolf and find true abiding happiness. And it's just honoring that connection, feeling into the connection you had with your loved one before they passed, and just knowing that doesn't have to end. And I'm so excited for the book to come out, because I think it's going to help so many people. The book is called I Didn't Die, I Just Changed Form. And Rob has shown me in so many ways, we don't die, our souls are eternal. And so our physical bodies may die, but our souls are eternal and they live on. And so just knowing that connection is available to you, it's there. Ever you want on the other side wants to talk to you, and just tapping into that connection, knowing that it's available.
See, I love that. I love that right there. Because the biggest thing, but as you was talking about that, the thought of frequencies, vibrations, things like that, these are things that I've these are areas that I've explored, right? And the amount of people that I've lost throughout my life, everybody has a different vibration that they will, that you can connect with them on, right? Yep. And I'm like yourself, I'm no medium. Like, these are just things because, for one, it's so hard to let people go.
Yes.
It's really so hard to let people go, to come to a place of acceptance or acknowledgement, depending on your terminology and how it resonates with you, right? For me, it was just a place of acknowledgement. Again, acknowledging in the world that I'm in, my life, who I am, who I was, who I'm becoming, etc. Right? The way friendships, relationships have evolved or devolved around me, and and again, thinking about the work that I do. Grief is such a vast area. It's not just black and white. There's so many other colors that come along with it, right? And so, like yourself, I began to explore to the two consciousness, the subconscious mind and the unconscious mind, and realize the connections between limiting beliefs, right? Those things that we've held to us that limit us from doing the things that we want and wanting so much more in the unconscious world, unconscious mind, to let it explore the universe in the multi-dimensions that we do live in, or that energy travels through, right? And you realize that there are several different variations of who we are.
Yep.
And so it's, for me, that's what it was like. But again, I taught myself these things because it was something that I wanted. It was something that I was like, what am I supposed to do with this? And I would tell you this, Kim. So many times when I was sitting back and didn't know what I was doing or something like that, my grandmother was the voice that came to me. It was like, "Hey, baby boy," I thought I was going crazy. I've made some bad decisions in my time, right? So I would call it my consulting voice, right? Grandma would come to me and be like, "Hey, baby boy, no, don't do that." And of course, me being a person that I am, I'm like, "You can't stop me. If I do it right now, you can't stop me, right? Tempting it and everything." And Grandma would come back and go, "Yeah, you're right. I can't stop you, but this is going to hurt, just so you know." And then I would do it, and of course she go, "Yep, just wait for it. This is going to suck for you, baby boy." And when it came back and it sucked, I was like, "Grandma." She was like, "No, Remember when I kept trying to tell you a hard head make a soft ass? Yeah, this is that soft ass I was telling you about. Stop having a hard head. Listen to what I'm talking about, and we're gonna get through this. And I realized that even in the work that I do, working in grief, those people that I've had relationships with, the connections that I've made throughout my course of time, has come back, and each and every last one of them has played a role in what I do. Right? The multi levels of creativity that comes along with it. Understanding how parents, has dealt with certain things, the knowledge that they've obtained and still, are willing to give the guidance and the protection, even the love of a child, right? The love of a sibling, wanting that relationship still, like, hey, I'm still here, like nothing's really changed. As you said before, nothing's really changed, just the body is gone.
Yep.
So what can we do in order to have a more spiritual connection? And that's where I began to relate it from. And that's where I tell people, in this, depending on who you are and what you believe and things like that, I say try to have the best spiritual, the biggest and best spiritual experience that you can in this world, and stop trying to have the best human experience that you can in this world. There's something so much more gratifying to that, a deeper connection that you can have.
Oh, yes, yes.
On that level.
Yeah, and that is what I really hope this book is going to do, is really expand people's consciousness that you can connect with those on the other side. It is possible. You don't need any special gifts. They want that as much as you want it. And yeah, we are all, and I'm sure you've heard this because you almost kind of just said it, we're all spiritual beings having a human experience, not human beings having a spiritual experience. It's really our spirituality that comes first. It's where we all come from. It's where we're all going back to. And it's, for me, it's also the singular most significant thing that has helped with my grief is, when you can connect on that deep level. I have no questions about how this happened, why it happened when it did, that Rob's great on the other side. When I talk to mamas who want to connect with their kids, it's usually, I just want to know they're okay. I want to know if it was, painful at the end. I want to know, are they happy? I want to know if they're around us. Rob has explained all that. And to have all those questions answered, so there's no uncertainty in my mind, that has been so healing. And that is available to every single one of us.
Right.
Yeah.
I love that. Because, again, having to have walked this path and being of service to other people, especially in our communities, the one thing that I've learned through the techniques and that I have developed, and a lot very similar to what you have done, it has helped me pivot in how I walk and speak with other men that are going through it. Even those that don't believe, right? Sometimes people will believe what they see more than what they feel. As a man, and this is where it gets real tricky with men, because with men it is a trust thing, and a lot of times we're not taught how to address our emotions, so a lot of times we can't trust them. Most men out there that you will talk to, this is the biggest thing that most men have to get a grasp on, is that earned trust, even with ourselves. Because we trusted our emotions before, and a lot of us have been bit in the butt. Think about it: the relationships that didn't last, that we thought that was going to last, that we invested so much into. When you've been bit by that snake, you don't want to go back into that water anymore.
Yeah,
you don't. And especially with men who have lost spouses or their children and things like that. it makes it real hard for us to be able to go on and connect with other people,
Mm-hmm.
let alone connect with other people's children,
Mm-hmm.
because there's a deep embedded fear that comes along with that. And fear, as you know, is a very tricky emotion.
Yeah.
It's very tricky. It can take you down one road or it can take you down another, depending on how you use it and what
Mm-hmm.
the situation is, right? And so, that trust factor comes in there. Do I take this chance and risk being torn apart again? Do I take this chance and play it safe?
Mm-hmm.
Tell you, 96% of men in the world would rather play it safe than to go out and get our butts handed to us.
Yeah.
We really would. So, and that's where we step in, and it's not a matter of convincing someone. It's a matter of giving people the tools and letting them explore it, but open up the doors for opportunity, for the opportunity for that to happen
Yes.
and being
Yeah.
able to walk with them, right? Because people will go by the example that you set.
Yep.
Most people, but again, those are just my thoughts and how
Mm-hmm.
I'm able to walk with a lot of these men that are going through it, right? Because I get it. I had to learn how to trust myself. I had
Mm-hmm.
to learn how to say, you know what, I'm going to give this a chance. Had I not trusted myself, I wouldn't be doing the work that I do now. I wouldn't be able to have the conversations that I do because I would have never trusted myself to have those conversations
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
or to step into what I call my gift.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just want to take a minute and really acknowledge you, Tony, because it is so powerful. So many more men are needed in the grief space. And
Yeah.
I just really want to acknowledge, I know the work that it takes. And we as women are normally, not always, but I would say the norm is that women are more in touch with their feelings and emotions than men. Just,
Mhm.
and that's Western culture, society. It's a societal thing. Boys are taught don't cry, don't show emotion. And so you are on some level programmed culturally to shut that down.
Right.
And I think often when we lose somebody really significant to us, it is a huge opportunity to really grow and become something different. And I work with women, I work with mamas who've lost children. But if you are a man out there, I just want to say, I mean, listen to what Tony is saying. Know that you have somebody available to you that can help you through this, and you will come out the other side. I've done all kinds of therapy, and I think grief work is the hardest work I've ever done. You have to go back and revisit places you would rather not. But
Yeah.
when you do the work, you get the payoff. Men can understand that. There you go to work so you can get a paycheck. When you do this work, you get the paycheck, you get the payoff. And it's not always fun going through it, but man, the payoff lasts for the rest of your life. It's like winning the lottery. You get the payoff every day for the rest of your life. So I just
Mhm.
really want to honor the space that you're holding for men out there and encourage any men that are watching this to really take advantage of what is being offered, because it will change everything for you. It will not just change your relationship to yourself, it'll change your relationship to the person that you lost, and it will change your relationships with everybody. It is so powerful. So I just want to take a little sidebar and acknowledge you for the work you're doing, Tony.
I appreciate that. I definitely appreciate that. And you're right. This work in grief, a lot of people, because we make it look easy, a lot of people don't understand how difficult it is to do it, right? Because you've touched on a lot of things. When it comes down to grief can take you to many different areas of your life. A lot of times people don't appreciate the fact of, when we're sitting with them, we have to listen to see where they are.
Mm-hmm.
Because grief will take you to your childhood. It will take you to your teenage years. It will take you to your adult, and it can flip back and forth. So there's a lot of patience that come along with that, right? There's a lot of, being careful how you speak, because you never know who you're speaking with until you get a consistent, conversation with an individual. You have to be able to pivot in conversation in that.
Yeah.
You know, I've talked to many men where, you know, and this sounds, it's not going to sound crazy because it's a huge thing, but most men will go back to a place where they've been hurt and go, man, you don't even understand. You know what I'm saying? This person back when, and that's the key to it right there. Man, back in 1989, you know, I was with this girl and she did this, that, and the other, or, you know, whatever, right? To go back there with them. Then you have to be able to walk them to a place to where they can begin the healing process. And that's where the beauty comes in at, right? Because now you understand that grief it's unraveling them. It's peeling back those layers. It's helping them become vulnerable. It's helping them begin to take accountability, because over a period of time, that conversation does change.
Yeah.
Like, wow, I had to look at that and, you know what I'm saying, come back and go, man, I need to hold myself accountable for the role that I played. Like, I'm not a victim. You know what I'm saying? But that also goes to, you know, we have to unlearn the things that we have learned, and be open to learning things that is a lot more beneficial in the way that we grow in this world.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, one of the beautiful things I think about grief work, I always say, when we grieve any loss, we grieve every loss.
Yes.
You know, I've had friends whose parents died, and that was devastating, but they weren't that torn up, and then their dog dies and everything falls apart. But it's because, you know, they were so wrapped up with their parents, they just couldn't let it all loose. And I do believe when we grieve any loss, we grieve every loss. And I also believe that when we heal any loss, we begin to heal every loss. And so the work that we do, even if we go back to 1989, it's going to have a ripple effect up into present day. And that's the beautiful thing about grief work. When we really begin to peel away those layers, it all can work together. And it's kind of like everybody gets lifted up. So it's beautiful work. It's beautiful work.
Yeah. I mean, and it all depends on the person who's there too, right? You know what I'm saying? Because I believe that, you know, those that have been called to do this work, they're the ones who share that superpower of empathy and understanding and connection, and, you know, and we're willing to serve and give it back to other people. And I find that to be the most beautiful thing in the world. And so, you know, I'm always looking and saying, you know, how much more can I do? It's not even about what I can get from it. It's, what can I give? How much more can I put out into the world? How much more can I manifest, right? Without expectation. Without expectation, but being able to look at the world and go, I owe this to you. And just doing it.
It's beautiful.
I think that's a beautiful thing, Kim. I really do. And so now, before we wrap this up, where can people find you?
They can find me, well, my name, kimhodous.com, is my speaking website. So that website I've had for 15 years. And then in the last couple of years, after Rob died and we put together this program, it's messagesformoms.com. And if, again, on that homepage, if you go and you get the PDF, 3 things your child on the other side wants you to know, which was so powerful. It didn't come through just from Rob. There was a lot of information on there from Rob, but also some messages that other moms got that were consistent. But regardless of who you've got on the other side, those 3 things will hold true. And then if they get on my list, they'll be connected to me. I'm not a huge social media person. I do have a Facebook page. It's, you know, facebook.com/messagesformoms. And I will be I'm going to offer my book for free for a few days in the beginning. So if you go and get on my list now, when the book is out, you'll have an opportunity to be able to download it for free. And So would love to connect with any of your listeners. And I also have on my website, you can go on there and set up a time to chat. I have my Calendly, and I have a couple hours set aside every week to just connect with people if they want to talk about who it is that they've lost. So that's available also.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And now, as we begin to wrap this up, I used to ask people, what would you leave the audience with? But I was asked this question a couple of days ago, and I found it to be a very deep answer that came along with this, right? Mm-hmm. If you had one superpower, what would it be?
It would be to implant into the mind of everybody the belief that they can connect with someone on the other side. It would be that knowingness to be able to people to just be in my presence and just know, oh yeah, she did it. She's no different than me. She's not got anything special going on. Mm-hmm. If she can do it, I can do it. It would be my deepest wish that every single person on the planet knew that it was available to them, because it has been the single most beneficial thing in my grief process, is to be able to know that. I mean, I still miss Rob. I still grieve. I mean, the holidays were hard. I wish he was here. And I also can go talk to him, and I can still have a relationship with him. And I would wish I could bestow that belief upon everyone.
I love that. I love that. And as we wrap up, I want to say, Kim, thank you for joining me today to share your journey, your knowledge, your wisdom, and with the audience, and teaching us so much. Thank you so much for that. Thank you, and for everyone else who have been tuning in. I've been watching you guys, sitting over there watching. Thank you guys for tuning in. If this is your first time tuning in, do me a favor. If you have not already, and you're tuning in on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, all those other platforms, head on over to that YouTube channel. It is down below, right? Just scrolling across the bottom. The Grief Let's Talk About It podcast on YouTube. Go there, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification so you'll be notified every time that we drop a new episode. But also, if you know anyone who could benefit from these conversations that we have, do me a favor, share this with them. And go back and check out all of the conversations that we had. We got something for everyone. Go and go to Kim's website, get signed up, get your free book when it comes out, but also go there and get that PDF and go and attend some of her classes, man. She's freaking amazing. This is just a fraction of what we've talked about before, right? And she goes so much deeper than that too. So you guys, go check her out. Let her know that Tony sent you, and start your healing process. Start your connection process. And for everyone that has been tuning in, supporting the channel since the first time that we started, I want to say, man, thank you for your support, your continued support. And with that being said, guys, we're going to wrap this up. We're going to see you guys in the next one. You guys have a really honored and blessed day. Peace.
Oh, thank you so much, Tony. I'm honored to have been here.
You're so welcome. Thank you for being here.
Uh-huh.